I'm joined by more guests now live this time. Subir Bhaumik is senior journalist and author. He's tracked Bangladesh for decades now. KC Singh, former secretary MEA, is with us. Zulkarnain Sair is Bangladesh researcher based in London. Arafatul Islam is Bangladeshi German multimedia journalist with the Deutsche Welle Bengali service. Joins me from Bonn in Germany. Appreciate all of you joining us at this moment. Let me first come to you, KC Singh. Give us a perspective of how you see what's happened on the streets of Bangladesh and Dhaka affecting us here in India. We have this high-level meeting already going on at the Prime Minister's office. What are India's options?
Rajdeep, I don't see the surprise here. I think this has been building up for some time. On the 9th of January, I wrote an op-ed saying the election results call for caution, not complacency. But the Indian government was busy at that time with Ram Mandir, then election, then Charso Par, then something else. The bells were ringing even then because the opposition had boycotted. The government had put up, Awami League had put up fake candidates as opposition candidates and got a massive mandate. No, that kind of authoritarian rule works as long as the economy is okay. As long as you are not, there is not terrible amount of divisiveness in the society. But the divisiveness is ingrained in Bangladesh because Ziaur Rahman, the founder of the BNP and a general who ruled after Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, I think Awami League has always felt that he had a hand to play, maybe not directly, in the assassination of Sheikh Mujib. So this enmity has been there. It's not been just normal opposition between one party and the other. And then the behavior of the government of Bangladesh, you lock up Begum Zia, you have all kinds of cases. It sounds familiar as the kind of thing we see happening in the Indian states. Now, if you do that, if you start going after your opponents with cases, then democracy is already in a tumble. And then I think we were happy. What she did was she played us against China. So we didn't say anything to her. We said, that's all right. Americans were making some noise. We said, no. But she's secular, but she's against the Islamic elements. But I said in that article, I said, what happens is when you keep the lid on it, when it blows up, the repercussions will be very serious. Why are we surprised? We should have had a game plan. We should have known where it was going. And we should have known how to play this game in the last 6 months.
You're saying this deadly cocktail of divisiveness and autocracy has resulted in this moment and we should have seen it coming, rather than in a way being silent and allowing it to play out in the way it has. Zulkarnain Sair, you're a Bangladeshi researcher based in London. Do you see this as a moment? We heard the opposition leader claiming this is a moment of victory. Is it really that? Or does this portend danger for Bangladesh, this kind of street level protests that have resulted in a prime minister being removed?
Well, what you see on the streets are mostly jubilant crowds, mostly jubilant people, happy people who feel that they have liberated themselves from an oppressor who have been ruling ruthlessly since last 15 years. There is no doubt that under Sheikh Hasina's regime, there were no free and fair election in Bangladesh for the last 15 years. And I also must note, as our neighbor, India's government have literally failed to ensure that Bangladesh holds free and fair democratic elections. So it is not only a failure for Bangladeshi on Sheikh Hasina's part, I would also say that Indian diplomats assigned in Dhaka and Indian Ministry of Interior, who always have been very close to our government, could have saved this situation had they been cautious about holding free and fair elections, and if they ensured that Sheikh Hasina is what Sheikh Hasina was doing over the years was not really correct. You know, it's a country of 170 million people. Sheikh Hasina have been holding elections, one-sided elections, since 2014. 2014 election, there was no opposition. 2018, the ballot boxes were sealed at night. 2023 election, absolutely one-sided election. So India, as the bigger country and who does have certain interest in Bangladesh, could have played a better role.
So you're saying India should have intervened in some way, or India should have put pressure on Sheikh Hasina to have ensured free and fair elections. Of course, that's easier said than done, given the kind of situation that exists in that country at the, in recent years. Subir Bhaumik, did India make its mistake in putting all its eggs in Sheikh Hasina's basket in recent years?
I would agree with Zulkarnain that, at the end of the day, as KC Singh was saying, we have some similar problems in India, but at least elections here are fair, which is why you see the result. Even the almighty BJP got the shock, in the recent election. But if elections are not held, it's like a pressure cooker. It builds up. And as KC rightly said, still the economy is doing well. Now, since the, COVID, the economy is not doing well. In the last 4 or 5 years, Bangladesh economy has been taken over by cronies. I've written stories about Salman F. Rahman and all these people. How these cronies have taken over the economy. It's a game of loot across the board. And therefore, when it pinches, when common people tell you, I have to say it in Hindi, not in Bangla, my mother, that Eid ka din bhi gosht nasib nahi ho raha hai, people don't like it. So, it starts as a student movement, but you see the masses piling on because different people have different...
No, do you see it as a mass movement? Are you saying it's a mass... No, are you saying it's a mass movement? Do you believe what's happened on the streets of Bangladesh a mass movement or instigated by the opposition?
No, this is all nonsense, instigated by the opposition. All opposition...
There is no opposition in Bangladesh.
We like to fish in trouble waters.
Doesn't exist.
When you have farmers' agitation here, you see the Congress running in. So, if there is a movement which is, which starts as a student movement, in Bangladesh has a long history of student movement. The politicians follow. It's the students who take the lead. Bangladesh, from 1952, students have taken the lead in all these movements. It's a very Bengali phenomenon in some ways. And therefore, to assume that, the opposition will try to fish in troubled waters. They'll try to take advantage. But here, if you look at the organizers of the movement, they are not political people. They're students. And you have 56 people. Here is a movement which is largely leaderless. You don't have one big leader leading the movement. You have different people in all kinds. They're students.
Let me take what you've just said.
The important thing is the way it was handled, the arrogance of power.
Okay.
On day one when the court judgment came, if she went out to these boys and told them to come to the table and say that, in 2018, I decided to scrap the quotas, but here is a complication created by a court judgment. We'll appeal in the Supreme Court, which she finally got it done. She should have said it then. She said, so Rajakar and Bacha,
so you're saying she should Shubir, just a minute. You're saying she should have negotiated with the students. She could have worked out a solution. It's the arrogance of power that's played out. Arafatul Islam, do you agree with that? That in a way, this is a popular movement. This is not opposition or foreign sponsored. This has organically grown from below after 15 years of what many believe has slowly moved towards being an elected autocracy.
Yes, I think so. It is definitely a mass movement, and I don't see any influence by any foreign power or local politician or the opposition party, because it's clearly we can see that the students led this protest throughout the weeks, and there were massive casualties, deaths. And
but could she have done something differently? Could Sheikh Hasina?
Of course.
What could she have done?
She could have done. She could have solved this issue last month or even in June, because when this High Court rule came that they say the High Court said that you have to reinstate the quota system, but at the same time this ruling also said that the government can change the ratio of the quota. So the government could have changed the ratio and the issue would have solved there. So, but she didn't do that. Instead of solving it. Instead of finding an amicable solution, she preferred to use force, and she tried to forcefully disperse all those protesters. Her party members attacked these protesters, so it turned violent. And altogether, we see that all those discontent among people because of this democratic backsliding of Bangladesh, because of this human rights, poor human rights records, because of this economy. So almost people from every sector joined there. So it's not only political parties. Students joined this protest. Students led this protest, but I have seen other professionals joining in. The country I am in, Germany, like there are over 20,000 Bangladeshi citizens living, studying, working in Germany. Many of them also protested, even in Germany. They are saying that it should not be this way. I mean, why are you? I mean, there are like massive casualties, and according to UNICEF, at least 32 children were killed in the past week. So that's the lowest figure by UNICEF. So all these things, I mean, why should these kids will be killed?
You've got even the likes of Muhammad Yunus, Nobel laureate, some of Bangladesh's most distinguished citizens, all coming out strongly against the way they believe Sheikh Hasina has handled this situation. Just to explain to our viewers and give you a sense of how this has happened. Remember, there was a 30% quota which was there for those who were seen to be inheritors of freedom fighters. And on July 1st, in protest against that rule, after a court ruling, students started blockades. They demanded changes in the rule. Hasina dismisses the protests as a waste of time, doesn't take them seriously enough. The protests gather momentum, violence intensifies. 6 protesters are killed in clashes first on the 16th of July. And the students reject Hasina's appeal for calm. And by then, even though her party's gone to the court, it's not good enough. The protests escalate. A government building is torched. The Supreme Court then rules against reintroducing these job quotas. So that was the hope that would have sorted the issue, but the students went ahead, demanded a complete removal of any quotas for those who were part of the 1971 freedom fight. Army then sided with the protesters on August 4th, and that was the turning point. 68 protesters were killed in the clashes yesterday, and the final protest march was to take place today in Dhaka. And as it approached the Prime Minister's residence, she fled the country.